My name is Mark Earls. Can we have the slides up, please? There we are. I'm Mark Earls. On Twitter, I'm the Herdmeister. And my colleague, John Wilshire, the Scottish one, is in the main room talking to all the suppliers. I'm running exactly the same session, except with a very heavy Scottish accent. I'm not only Mark Earls, the Herdmeister. I write books. I have a big consultancy helping all kinds of clients with human behavior and with innovation, but I'm also Cake Boy. That's my mundane superhero. It's the strange secret power that has an entirely domestic and unimportant value. And indeed it says so on my name tag, Cake Boy. So what I would like you all to do is, if you look to the ends of the rows, there are a packet of cards like this. On the inside of the rows, here's a packet of cards. Get out the cards. For each of the person in the row, you need to give them a couple of cards. There are some pens, some lovely big thick Sharpies. And just for a moment before we start, I want you to write down your mundane superpower, the strange thing that you can do really well, that is useful in a domestic environment, but doesn't involve things like seeing through walls or flying through the air. Your mundane superpower. I'm Cake Boy because I can eat more cake than anyone I've ever met. I have a very sweet tooth. John, my colleague, is parent IT man, so he takes the call from his parents, his wife's parents, their friends, anyone's parents about how IT works, how computers work. And it's normally the answer is switch it off and on again, but he's the expert in his social network on that. So that's his mundane superpower. So can you please just write it on the yellow side, please, what your mundane superpower is. And if you're at the back and you haven't got one of these cards, then there's some more on the chairs there. Be a shame not to take part, because that's the important piece here. So draw yourself ideally a little picture of it, and your superpower name. Cake Boy, IT, parent IT man. We've had someone pack a car lady. It's a superpower, which is to get all of a family's properties into the back of a small European hatchback family car. Right, there we go. So that's the first of 3 tasks. That's really easily done, and we've got that done in the first few minutes, so excellent. We're going to talk about innovation. A lot of work that we do is in this space of innovation, and we use these cards, artifact cards, that John has pioneered the use of. When people talk about innovation, I think there's a lot of misguided stuff that happens in those conversations. So, for example, I don't know if you were in the last session, Ray Pointer's summary of the panel of suppliers and clients' views on innovation in our space. Ray's summary I thought was great. He said, it's interesting, isn't it, that a lot of suppliers want to sell a new methodology and a lot of clients want to find someone good. 2 very different sets of expectations. Innovation isn't, first and foremost, just making something new. Innovation, first and foremost, is about fixing broken things. This is where the startup community have taught us an awful lot. It's about seeing things that, from the customer's perspective, just don't work, and then trying to fix them through whatever means. It's a really, really simple thing. We talk about what are the needs of people, but just thinking about it in terms of broken things in the industry, I think, is a really good place to start. The second thing about innovation we often get wrong is this, that we're often looking for a big innovation, something that's a massive, big idea that's really going to transform everything. Much of the time, innovation in the startup space, teaching us so much about, is very small things that already exist. And it's the accumulation of very small things that can lead to really big innovations, outcomes, changes in outcomes. So that's how we're going to design the next little bit. So over the next 24 hours, we're going to try and draw out from the industry gathered here, first of all, you on the client side, and secondly, suppliers on the other side. We're going to draw out what we think are the broken things in the industry. There are lots of clues in the fantastic Grit survey. other conversations, things that are being prompted from the conference platforms, and other things which you bring from your own perspective. We're going to draw out the broken things and then do something a bit like that movie Good Will Hunting, Matt Damon's first movie, I think it was, where you leave something on the wall for other people to complete. So if we can put out what really matters, what the broken things are, then other people can go, here's a hack, here's a thought, here's what you might do about that. And that can start to collect for a community like this what the ways to actually make proper innovations might be. And at the end of this program, we're going to report back tomorrow how far we've got, and then subsequently we're going to publish to all the attendees here all of the ideas that we've got in an edited form that you can access. So like a map for potential innovation for the community. Based on one, what really matters to people. What are the broken things that we need to fix? And secondly, what small steps can we take that might solve that? Steps probably taken from other markets or other experiences. So, could you take, first of all, take that mundane superhero card that I asked you to draw before and stick it into your conference pass. Stick it into your conference pass. That is your real identity now, at least for half the time for this next 24 hours. Don't be shy, sir. There we are. So that's the first thing. The second thing is take another card and think from your own perspective. What's the broken thing, a broken thing about the industry at the moment, the relationship between suppliers and buyers? Might be in the practice of, it might be inside your organisation. It might be between your organisation and other organisations. It might be between you and your people. Don't know. What's the most important broken thing as far as market research is concerned for you right now? I would advise you when you write on these cards to use capital letters, not small letters, capital letters, and if you can find a way to capture it in a little picture, you can see drawings aren't our strong suit, but try and capture it in that sense, in a visual, that's really good. Now, the second thing I want you to do after that is to think, is there another thing? Something else that you think is broken, that needs fixing? Something else that's broken that needs fixing. Again, draw yourself a little picture. Draw yourself a little picture and write the words on in capital letters. So what kind of things have we got? What kind of things do people think are broken? Any suggestions from anyone?
Yeah, I wrote something.
Great.
And I think they are challenging the question that the focus should not be on broken, because something which is broken, it can be easily fixed. The big problem is in the mediocre things.
Great.
And I think that needs to be...
That's great. That's a great way of re-expressing it. Absolutely. So I think in that context, there's some work we did recently with an energy supplier, an energy provider company, utility in the UK. And one of the issues there is just not terrible service, but just pretty ordinary service that's frustrating people when things go wrong. So that seems to me it's not broken, it's just not very good. So not very good, mediocre is just as good. What about anyone else? Anyone else got a thing that they think needs fixing? Are we all happy with the way that the market research world works? Sir?
Language.
Language. Go. Explain.
Language that market researchers use is completely different from the business language.
Yep. Great.
I'm not saying it's broken.
No, great, great. Yeah, there's a microphone just coming your way, sir, so have another go.
I wrote down one word. It's boring.
Boring.
Yes.
It's boring. Explain.
I have the feeling that often it's new words to explain all things. And of course there's innovation, but is it true innovation? And
Great.
yes, it's boring. My
It's
colleagues thinks it's boring. Yeah. it's
Okay,
a problem.
great. Sir, could you repeat the point you made just now for the lady at the back who didn't hear you?
The point I was making is that the language that market researchers use, or insights, consumer, I don't know what they call themselves, is completely different from the language of business people.
Great. Very good. Anyone else? At the back, there's a nice lady at the back with her hand in the air. Oh, sorry, you first then.
Well, mine was quite similar actually. It was about having impact, getting research to have impact. So
Great.
it's partly not being boring and partly using the right language.
Great. At the back, the lady there.
Thank you. Sorry, just on the subject of language, just using language in a smart way to make the questions and the answer options relevant to the age groups. If you're being given a survey for 7 to 10-year-olds, as I have done, and there's no way with their reading writing abilities they're going to understand half of it.
Yep.
Some focus needs to be spent on linguistics.
It's a very technical point about using the right language for the audience and the research context. Very good. Anyone else? Sir, over here. Sorry, I'm making you run up and down the steps. I'm sure it's very good for you.
I wrote down that time was broken.
Time?
Yes.
Very good.
Because we want everything faster, we want everything, but we also want everything more thorough.
Yep.
And those two things don't square away.
Right.
You can't write a novel in a week.
Right.
You know, you've got to have time to think about it.
You can do, but you don't sleep and it's not very good.
Well, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, very good. Anyone else? Can't believe the rest of you are entirely happy with
I
the
can
way
run,
the
it's not a
market
problem, don't worry.
What's broken in market research is the question. There's some nice cards there at the end of the row, sir, if you want to write down what you think is broken.
Okay, I have a point. What I experience is the difference between having a local agency that's quite flexible and can act fast and think along, but when you need an international scope and you select an agency with an international scope, they get very, how do you say that? Like political, and it's slow and it's big and it has to go through like 100 decision makers, and so the international scope is slowing things down, whereas we need speed internationally.
Great, very good. Come on, there must be some more stuff. At the front, there's new arrival when we've heard from that gentleman just down the front.
Yeah, I think margins, and that goes back to the early morning session about, you know, clients squeezing suppliers, suppliers then squeezing actually the end respondents in terms of incentives. So I think there's a big question around market research in terms of margins. You know, are we doing what's best for the industry?
Yep, very good. Lady at the back there, while you're up there, rather than run all the way down, and then we can take the gentleman there.
I think, like really leading on from the last comment, procurement departments putting a great big wall between the innovative thinkers in research agencies and the clients inside who want it.
So procurement as a
procurement
barrier.
Departments.
Yeah, very good. Now, this poor gentleman's been waiting down here. If you just wait for the mic, there we are.
Call it KPIs, so say purchase intent. If somebody comes out and say definitely would buy as a rubbish score because it's got no predictability, what replaces that?
Yeah.
And
okay, so that's a nice, good concrete thing that we could look at.
yeah, and then I would call it another one would be instability of preference. If in other words people change their mind all the time, how on earth do we manage to capture something which is like a moving target and hasn't got a sort of like a center opinion in any case? It's kind of like an onion which you unpeel and say, well, what does market research do with an onion, so to speak?
Yeah, so preferences, stated preferences, so on as a keeper. What I found interesting, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I've heard a lot of, partly because I've framed it this way, a lot of things about the way we do, and not many technical things. Sir.
Sorry, hi. If I can give you a perspective outside of market research. Looking at it, I think I hear a lot about insights and a lot about value add being delivered by market research agencies of various type. I'm not sure I understand what that insight means. I rarely see any value add from it. I see commentary on data that doesn't tell me the so what, definitely doesn't tell me the what next I should do. Very little confidence in being able to project how I should react to I should do.
That's great. That's great. make sure you capture that on the card, because it's going to be one we need to look at. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? Yes, nice lady there. Towards the back again, I'm sorry about that, up 2 flights of stairs.
Personally, I think we also have an issue with the amount of data we have and actually weighing it in a correct way and presenting it. Because currently we're living in a world where there's a lot of data everywhere, operational data, research data, big data. I mean, that's what we're all working on, but still the fact that there is technology that can order it still presents us with a problem that we need to find a way to order it and then present it.
Very good. I'm sure there are a lot of people in the other room who find a way to talk to you about that. Do you want to have another go, sir? You would just hold on a sec, wait for the mic.
I'll get some help.
Data river flowing around the market research department and not through it. In other words, the bypass strategy. It's not a heart operation, but you sort of like find out data is going to the marketing department, the general management through customer enterprise systems. You don't even know about it. So I'd say the organizational model is broken.
Right, so the organizational stuff there where data goes to decision makers without going through market research or insight. Very good. Anything else? Yes.
Non-response from B2B respondents.
Non-response from B2B respondents?
Yeah, difficult to get their answers. Yeah.
Difficult to get them to answer surveys?
Yeah.
Very good.